Hey guys, how's it going? This is Dilmer again, and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about level design, and the reason why I want to basically cover that topic is because I'm going through that process right now. And even though I have created many games in the past, every game is to me a new experience. It's gonna be also a completely different process. Even though I ship other games, the new games that I'm creating are completely different. And the one that I'm working on right now is an augmented reality game. And that game is different in the sense that when it comes to level design, you have to be thinking about, you gotta put yourself in the shoes of the player. Not only the player that it's behind the screen and that is actually playing your game, but also the player that is, the actual character that you are, the actor that you are in that game. And as I'm working on some levels right now, I've been thinking about some of these things because, in specific to the game that I'm building, that is basically a demolition. I'm a demolition company. That's basically who the actor is, or who the character is in this game. And there's so many things that you have to be thinking about, and not only because I'm creating a new game, and also because I'm creating a new augmented reality game. So the AR game is going to have two different modes. One is going to be non-AR, and one is going to be AR. So as I'm working through some of these levels, which I'm using Unity and I'm creating prefabs, and I'm trying to be as organized as I can, and that's something that I would recommend you do is as you start creating your levels, you start creating your 3D art, or if you're getting 3D art from somebody else, make sure that you have that very well named. Make sure that you have it very well organized. And one thing that I have right now is I'm creating buildings in the game, and some of these buildings have different pieces to it. So each piece, for example, I have a wall, and in another one I have a wall with a window. I may also have a wall with a door, and when I'm thinking about the organization part of this process, I'm making sure that the naming is represents as accurate as it can be what the actual prefab is. So if I have a wall with a door, I make sure that my prefab represents that. It's basically a wall with a door, and that's the name of and that might be something that you might say, oh yeah, I know that, but there's so many times when I started getting so confused with names and I wasn't organizing that. So make sure that when you're starting a game and you're doing level design, be thinking about naming conventions and organization of your prefabs, because that's really going to help you long term, and actually be able to create levels much quicker, or in a way that you can apply changes much faster. So if I'm making a change to, let's say, 100 walls, and I have a prefab and I know what the prefab is, I can make a change to the prefab, and that prefab basically, that change to the prefab applies to the dozens of walls that I have. So the other thing that I wanted to think about is basically be thinking about space when you're doing level design. Not only the space in when you're playing in a regular mode, but also the space in augmented reality. So when I'm designing levels, I'm also thinking about the size of the structures that I'm going to be building, and the areas where I'm going to be placing those structures. So let's say that you have somebody that wants to play inside your house, or you want to play, maybe you're laying in bed and you want to play the game. So in that case, in the bed case, I want people to be able to play the game without AR. So I'm allowing that option in the game. And then in the other scenario, I want people to play the game. Let's say they are in their bedroom and they have an area where maybe it's about 8 feet on width and height, and it's basically a regular room. And in that case, I can place a structure that it's about 70% of that on the height, and maybe about 30% of the width of the room. So then I ask the question, okay, what about the explosions? What if I want an explosion to happen and I'm in such a small area? then you gotta be thinking about those things because some of those components are gonna affect the size of the structures that I'm creating in this case. So be thinking about space. And the other thing that I've been thinking about as well is, in specific to the game that I'm building, is how easy it is gonna be to get into the structures. So I want people to get into these buildings and maybe walk around these buildings, or maybe if they are in a smaller area, they can go through a window, or they can actually slide the phone and see which area they can place a bomb on. So there's a lot of questions that I have right now in regards to the game. You might think that I know every answer, but I don't. So what I've been doing is I create 1 to 2 levels that I think are gonna be really well. I have my team playing those levels, and then I also test them out. I also go outside where I have a bigger area. I look at the lighting. If I'm doing AR, I look at how clearly it is for the player to actually know what they need to do. I don't want to give it all out, but at the same time, I want to have a very clear picture of what they need to do in the game. So those are a couple of tips that I can give you right now from my own experience with creating some of these levels. So if you have any questions about this process or anything that I just mentioned, let me know through the comments. Let me know through social media if you want to talk to me that way. And don't forget to share this video, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you, guys.